And we are back on SportsLine. Titans training camp day number 3 today. The first time players put on the pads, and it just sounded different when you walked into the complex today because guys were hitting each other. Kind of the first real sign that football and fall is almost upon us. Even got some fall-like weather today as well. Ken Whisenhunt was anxious for this day. He wanted to see how guys would respond. And really for coaches, it's the first time to really get your guys on the field and see if they're ready, if they will accept the contact and do all those sorts of things, especially with young guys. They can look, as the old saying goes, they can look like All-Americans in shorts and T-shirts. But what happens when it gets real and the pads come on? And that's what Ken Whisenhunt and his staff are now beginning to find out. Is some of these guys can look really good in the shadow stuff, in the walkthroughs, in shorts and T-shirts. But when they actually have to hit, when they have to fight off contact and make a play, or absorb contact and make a catch, when that all happens, can they rise to the occasion and be productive players in the National Football League? And this today is really the first practice, first step to finding that out. And it'll be a long process. There'll be a lot of training camp dates here. You've got the preseason games, which are, of course, incredibly important. But this is an important day. And after practice today, Ken Whisenhunt seemed to be pretty pleased with what he saw from his guys in day 1 of padded practices.
I mean, it sounded like it. I think that's a good way to judge it. There was a lot of popping going on. So, as usual, there's probably more than enough mistakes for us to work on, but I like the way they practiced. We got a break with the weather. You know, let's talk about if we can do this one day when it's hot and humid, then maybe we're on to something.
These days when you get the pads off, that you feel is beneficial for guys like Morgan and Casey, or switching from their old spots, trying new stuff?
A lot of what they're doing is what they've been doing. So a lot of the things that we're asking them to do now, they've been doing for weeks, so I think they're comfortable with it. I think pads are good for all of us. You know, this is what the game is still played in pads, so you got to work it.
When a guy like Tig Willard has the first big hit of the day, does that fire the guys up when you see somebody like that kind of come out of the woodworks and really kind of, you know, have a big hit like that, get things going?
You know, I think first day in pads, everybody's at that little bit of higher intensity, so the first big hit or, you know, when something like that happens, yeah, the guys get going, you know, but they were ready to go today. I compliment them on that. One of the things with the first time with a team, you just don't know, but it was the right mentality today.
Jake said he was pleased with the rhythm of the offense today. Were you pleased as well?
I thought it was a good day. I was pleased with a lot of things. I mean, but I haven't watched the tape yet. I'm sure there's a lot more we got to work at, but for the first day in pads, I was pleased with it.
Dexter kind of raised the question the other day about how Dexter will do with contact and pads and so forth. What just looked like he got popped pretty well there a couple of times. How did you feel like he handled some of that initial contact?
Well, I've seen Dexter do it on tape. I don't have any questions about that. So, you know, we believe Dexter's going to contribute a lot to our offense in a number of different roles. So if he was a rookie coming out of college, and maybe that was something you were worried about, but there's evidence of him doing it in NFL games. So.
Jake was talking about Kendall having freelanced a little bit or had certain freelance capabilities last year under the staff and playing more to form for you guys, more direct routes, things like that. How much have you asked him to change what he was doing?
You know, Paul, I don't know that we've asked him to change. We've asked him to do what this offense dictates, and he's done that very well. Kendall is, I've been very impressed with Kendall, how he goes about his business. He's changed since when we first got in here, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do for us this year.
Changed how?
He's matured a little bit. I think we put more responsibility on him, maybe. I don't know. Once again, I can't compare it because I don't know before, but asked him to do some things, and he's responded well.
How's a guy like Hagan done coming in here after being out of football last year and kind of getting another opportunity?
He's a veteran guy. I think I said this the first week he was in here. It was impressive because he came in with no real practice and showed up on the field. So it's good to have him. I think that we can do a lot of things with him. You know, he's in competition for a spot, so he's a veteran, and he's making a good push for it.
You guys had maybe some push and shove going on that play. You're going to have more of these physical pattern practices moving forward. What's your message to guys as far as keeping it cool and not letting things escalate out there? And you find guys for fights in practice?
I don't find guys for fights in practice. I'm going to take them out of practice if that's a fight, if it's something. But there's going to be pushing and shoving. It's a contact sport. But I think the thing that's really important is we can't have a penalty in a game just because you can't be selfish, and that's something that can dramatically affect the game. We've had discussions about that already. In fact, we've had, you guys know, you were here in the spring, you saw some pushing and some shoving and some scuffles then. So we've addressed it a couple of times. That's part of football, but as long as it's not happening in games and it's not happening out here where we get somebody hurt, we're not going to have any issues.
And you obviously got to watch the tape for the day, but anybody that caught your eye, say that guy pretty stout out there?
I think it's hard to see with the inside guys. I thought there was a lot of physical play. Mike Martin, I think, has done some good things. Rapati's a big dude now. He seems to show up. I saw Bishop kind of flash today, Sankey. He made some good runs. I thought there was a couple of times in protections he fit up in there nicely. Nate Washington on a reverse, we brought the old guy out of the archives, and he looked okay. So, I thought, like I said, it was a good day for the most part. Derek Morgan, there was a couple of times he flashed in Cameron, Wembley. So, I was pleased with how we got through practice today.
Dave Hoffman's the guy when he was in Dallas, worked with a lot of young kickers. How important is he to identifying and developing your next guy here?
Well, he's an expert in that field. I think in my time with Steve, I interviewed him for a job one time and was very impressed with him. So his input is greatly appreciated and needed on that spot. So that's one of the things that we feel like helps us. Nate does a great job, but Steve is blessed in that particular area.
He just understands the kicking game better than most? Or?
Yeah, I don't know if we're talking about the actual physically kicking the ball. Yeah, I think he has a good feel for that. He's put a lot of time in it. And, he understands the kicking game, period. But he's really worked hard at the mechanics and how you do it. And, we're expecting to see positive results from our guys because of that, because of his contributions.
Why no kickoffs by the kickers at this point as you're working on guys bringing the ball out of the end zone?
Why no? Just because they're legs. We haven't gotten into the kicking part of it yet. It's a progression. So we'll get to that soon enough.
Jake, at the point where you're happy with this pace of recognition and delivery, or is that something that has to get faster as the camp goes on?
Well, I was happy in the spring with where we had progressed to, but now it's almost like we're starting over, and then we're doing it in pads, and then we're going to have preseason games. So I think it's early to make that kind of evaluation. But I'm happy with the way Jake's working. I'm happy with a lot of the little things that we're seeing him doing here. But there's no substitute for seeing what happens in a game. When we get to some of these controlled, for lack of a better word, scrimmages, then, you'll get a better sense.
I think some of the reps that Taylor's getting at guard, can they in any way eventually help him at tackle?
Yeah. I think the more snaps he gets helps him everywhere. Understanding the speed of the game, technique, how physical it can be. So he's an athletic guy, big athletic guy. So it's good to see him get those reps.
Maybe just getting to know what the guy next to him is going to be doing eventually. Can that help him as well?
Yeah, you know what? And even that's a good point. And I'll say this as well, John. The working together. Whether you're at tackle or you're at guard. When you're playing a defense that moves like our defense is doing, you're going to have to work together in zones and fitting those things up. You can do it in drills, but there's no substitute for doing it against them in a live setting.
Still early, but have the old Denver guys, Woodyard and Phillips, have they had the impact that you want them to have?
I think you said it's still early. I'm pleased with those guys on our football team, and they're good leaders, experienced guys. So, we still got a ways to go. We're only in, what day is it, 3?
Today's the first day in pads. You're curious to see tomorrow how they respond once the newness of that is kind of worn off?
Yeah, I think really a week from now is when you see it, when it's hot. Today was easy. I know it was the first day and we ran a lot of reps, but it was cool. You feel pretty good. You're ready to go. It's when you're sore and you're banged up and everything's coming on you at once. There's a lot of installs. That's when we'll see who's tough and who can focus.
Talk about Dexter, if you hadn't already. I know you like the enthusiasm. How worried are you about him maybe getting hurt, trying to do too much?
Well, I said this earlier. I've seen Dexter do it in NFL games. I'm not concerned about Dexter. He's been a durable player, and he works hard.
Ken Whisenhunt talking about Dexter McCluster and his versatility, but also durability. The fact that he's been out there many games throughout his career, hasn't really been prone to injuries, but they are going to ask him to do a little bit more here in Tennessee. One guy who's totally used to the expectations of Ken Whisenhunt, his style as a coach, the way he runs practices, things like that, is Nate Washington, a guy who really grew up in the NFL with Whisenhunt as his offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh. Whisenhunt, of course, then went on to become the head coach in Arizona. Washington came to Tennessee, where he's really kind of flourished and become a very dependable veteran receiver in the National Football League. They're reunited now, and Washington believes that is an advantage, both for him as a player, but also for Whisenhunt as he comes in, because Nate can sort of disseminate the information to teammates, the expectations, because he's gone through it before. Here's Nate Washington after practice today.
But definitely, yeah. One thing I'll say about Kendall, he's a humble guy. He's willing to listen, and I've been in his ear every step of the way, trying to give him every bit of advice that I can possibly give him. He's an awesome talent, and I think he has an opportunity to make his mark in this league. So with that being said, I have to make sure I'm pushing him towards that greatness. I'm not going to allow him to just come in here and lollygag his way through days. He has to continue to get better every single day.
Nate, Coach Whisenhunt said you were one of the guys who stood out to him in practice today. Feels good to hear that, doesn't it?
I don't know, because that means there's going to be high expectations for tomorrow and the rest of the days. But I accept it. Coach Whisenhunt has definitely been a guy that's been influential, not only in this year for me, but throughout my career. He's one of the ones that gave me my chance in this league. So it's good opportunity to come out here and hear those things. But the work won't stop. Knowing that he expects those things out of all of us is just going to push you harder to hopefully make him not just recognize those things for a day, but for the rest of the year.
Said they broke old Nate Washington out of the archives with the reverse.
Yeah, definitely. It's so funny because all OTAs, I didn't get that play. They kept giving it to the other receiver. But he gave me a chance today, and I just hope I didn't let him down.
Well, the first day in pads, a lot of the guys on defense really relish it. Do guys on offense like it, or would you rather not be out there in pads?
Well, our offensive line loves it. Of course, they love it. They're bullies, so they love it. But I don't know if I'll say we as receivers love it. I'm not going to lie. But it's a time that we need. It's a time that we need to get our bodies adjusted to wearing those pads and being in multiple plays, running around with those pads on, and maybe taking that collision from time to time. So it's definitely going to be beneficial for us. It's something that we need, and we'll continue to grow off of it.
Last time you guys were in it, was it the last game of the season, or?
Yeah, last time we were in the pads, the last game of the season, definitely. So the shoulder pads are some that haven't been around. I'm pretty sure a lot of guys are going to have to get their bodies back adjusted, their wind back adjusted, and wearing that on their chest, but we'll be all right.
Nate, Coach Whisenhunt said, I think yesterday, that the biggest advantage you have, your experience with him, isn't so much, I guess, knowing the playbook or anything like that, but just the understanding of his expectations.
Of course.
How much does that help?
Of course, it's huge. Not only for me, but for the rest of the guys in this locker room, too. I think Coach Whisenhunt's expectations are not just going to be good, but they have to be great. He understands that, in order to get to the playoffs, in order to be a good team in this league, in order to leave your mark, you just can't come in here and just say you worked today. You have to be dog-tired from pushing yourself to the extreme, and that's what he expects, and that's what I expect out of my teammates and expect out of myself. So it'll be a constant push. If we have a good day, we have to make sure that the next day is good. We can't take steps back but forwards.
It seemed loud out there today. Is there any way to compare to past years? Was there more popping today than a typical first day?
I think it's us more trying to set our identity. I'm not going to say that it wasn't, loud in previous years, but I think this year is kind of emphasis on us setting our identity. It's very important for us to come out here first day of pads and establish who we're going to be to each other first. Make sure that when you see a brother out there on the field, that we know what's going to be expected of him and know that he's going to give everything that he has, and that's what we have to continue to do. We have to push each other every day. The old saying says iron sharpens iron, and that's what we have to expect out of each other every single day.
Certainly been competitive practices so far for the first 3 days, and that is what the Titans hope they see more of throughout the course of what will be a very long training camp. We would love to hear from you tonight, 737-7767. Get in on the conversation. Don't just listen, be a participant. Call us up. We got an open phone line right now if you would like to get in on the conversation. We can do that right after this break. Stay tuned. You're watching SportsLine on News Channel 5+.